Hello, my name is Joshua Hinton. I'll be presenting a poster on Abraham Lincoln for the Master of Science in Systems Engineering program at the Systems Engineering Leadership course. The title of this poster is From Dark to Light, light representing the man we remember today, of Abraham Lincoln, coming from a very dark background in his early childhood in his family. I would not expect to be the type of person who would become the man we remember him as. In his early childhood, he was born into an illiterate family in Kentucky in 1809. And his father, Thomas, was a weaver's apprentice, and his mother, Nancy, was thought to be of illegitimate birth. She was described as a sad but fervently religious woman, which played into a lot of Abraham Lincoln's future thoughts and everything he did. He had two siblings, a sister named Sarah and a brother named Thomas. His brother died in infancy, and then actually at the age of 9, his own mother died, and Abraham helped to build his mother's coffin and to bury his own mom, which was a very traumatic experience for him. His father remarried a woman named Sarah, and Sarah and Abraham Lincoln had a very good relationship, and she encouraged his learning, to which he learned by quote unquote littles. These littles are just little sprints of learning that he did, and then in total amounted to about no more than 1 year of formal education as a child. In his early career, Abraham Lincoln had a lot of jobs, from surveyor, postmaster, storekeeper, and soldier. With all of these, though, perhaps one of the more character-building careers he had was as a prairie lawyer in the state of Illinois, where he represented about 120-mile-long circuit. He represented a lot of people. He became a very distinguished and successful lawyer. He was well known for being shrewd, honest, practical, and all of this attributed to his nickname, Honest Abe, as well. In fact, he was so honest that there's an example in there of at one point he had walked 2 to 3 miles to return what we would have had called $2 today. It was just a very small sum of money. When he was a storekeeper, he returned it to a patron who overpaid at his store. As a politician, he was the lone Whig from Illinois. He served as certainly the 16th president of the United States, but he also served in the U.S. Congress and the state government for Illinois. His signature push was certainly for abolition. He was urged by Frederick Douglass during this time, and a lot of people were against him in it. His primary vision, though, was the preservation of the Union, which a lot of people think it was the abolition of slavery, but the preservation of the Union was his first and foremost goal. His top qualities: honesty, empathy, and humility. Abraham Lincoln had a reputation of honesty, and it's a character quality that he'll be remembered for forever. He became known as Honest Abe, working at that country store. He was very well known and well liked. He was the judge, jury, and executioner all in that store. He knew a lot of people and did a lot of things. But he could be modest, kind, gentle, and rough when needed, but he wore that honesty as a badge of honor, and he never outgrew that throughout his entire life. Empathy. He was a very empathic person. Abraham Lincoln, at one point, he even in the front lines was visiting some soldiers, and there was a Confederate soldier who was crying out to his mother. And Abraham Lincoln stopped and asked the boy what he could do for him, and the boy agonizingly, he responded with disdain and said that his mom will never get his message. And Abraham Lincoln broke down in tears and ordered his soldiers that night to carry the boy's message to the front lines under a banner of truce. And this really shows the empathy that Abraham Lincoln had for people, even if they weren't his own soldiers. Humility and challenge. Abraham Lincoln, he was a very humble person. He elevated people to positions that would help him, even if he disagreed with them at times. For example, Edwin Stanton, he elevated to the Secretary of War. They did not have a good relationship early on. It developed and it got better. But when he elevated Stanton to Secretary of War, they fought a lot. They did not have a good friendship. But Abraham Lincoln knew that Stanton was the right person to help preserve the Union, and so he put him in that position. This invited a culture of challenge, a culture of change, and really helped to accomplish that primary mission there. And so, in conclusion, Abraham Lincoln was a very complex man who stopped at nothing to preserve the Union. In fact, if the only way to preserve the Union had even been to leave slavery intact, he likely would have done so, even though he detested it. His primary cause of abolition and the preservation of the Union led him to that pragmatic abolition solution, and that gained him a lot of followers for decades to come. He was a leader of men who used his life experience to guide him to pragmatic solutions that benefited all of those who surrounded him. So this was Abraham Lincoln, From Dark to Light, and thank you for listening.